This video will show you the generation of what I dub the fast AC method and a few examples of its use. So first off, let's look at the quadratic equation ax squared plus bx plus c. So what we're going to do is this method is used to factor polynomials of this form. So all these quadratic equations, we want to find a faster approach when a is not 1. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to factor out a. And so what that does is effectively divides each term by a. And then what I'll do is look at a different looking form of the last bit. So what I'm going to do is multiply top and bottom by a, and I get ac over a squared. So here's the idea. We've got a squared in the denominator, and we've got a in the denominator of the middle term. So if we find two numbers that multiply to ac and add to b, then using a denominator of a will make up the rest of it. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to choose two numbers. Let me just call them, I need two numbers. I'll go with y and z. So we're going to find two numbers such that y plus z is b, and y times z is ac. With that said, we get a times x plus y over a, and multiply that by x plus z over a. You'll notice that y times z is ac, and it's over a squared. And also, when I do y times x, I get xy over a plus xz over a, and so since y plus z is b, I get the original back. Now, the generation of this formula is the idea here. If I calculate ac, then all I have to do is find two numbers that multiply to a, or to multiply to ac and add to this b. And all I have to do is write them like this. Those two numbers, I'll put them both over a, put an a in front, and that gives the actual formula. So let's do an example. Let's start with the problem 6x squared minus x minus 5. To factor this thing, here's what we do. We multiply a times c, which I write like this. We're going to create a new polynomial, so this is not equal to the original, but nevertheless we get x squared minus x minus 30. So I just move the 6 over and multiply it through. Now this is a very easy to factor function. I just look for two numbers that multiply to negative 30 and add to negative 1. That's negative 6 and 5. Nothing hard there. So now we come back and we get a final answer right from this. We get 6 times x minus 6, and I'm going to divide that number by 6, and then x plus 5 divided by 6. So what I do is I put a 6 in front, and I divide both of my numbers by 6. Now let's simplify. We get 6 times x minus 1 times x plus 5 over 6, and what we'll always do when we do these, for the sake of making it look like the other form, is we'll multiply through by this number in front to remove the fractions. In this case, x minus 1 is already fine, so it's still x minus 1. And multiplying this time by 6, I get 6x plus 5. And that is the answer. So let me show you the very fast way that you might write this. 6x squared minus x minus 5. Put it across. X squared minus x minus 30. Alright, well that's x minus 6 times x plus 5, and then here's what I do. 6 in front, divided by 6, divided by 6. I get x minus 1 from the first term, and multiply through by 6, and I get 6x plus 5. The way that this is written, this is much faster than the methods that we've had previously. Let's do another example. Here's two more problems for us to look at. So let's apply the fast AC method. We'll take the 8 and multiply it through to the negative 3. we get x squared minus 2x minus 24. So I want two numbers that multiply to negative 24 and add to negative 2. That's negative 6 and positive 4. So now, just to finish that, my original number was 8, so I'll put the 8 in and divide each of them by 8. Now for this one, let's go ahead and simplify. We get x minus 3 over 4, and then x plus 1/2. Now when we get to this case, we need to split it up. I'm going to multiply the second function by 2 and the first factor by 1. And you'll notice that, the first factor multiplied by 4. You'll notice I multiply by 4 and I multiply by 2. That's coming from multiplying by 8. So I get 4x minus 3 times, said 2 here, so 2x plus 1. Finished. Next example. 5 times negative 8. I get x squared minus 18x minus 40. Alright, two numbers that multiply to negative 40 and add to negative 18 looks like, how about x minus 20 and x plus 2. So again, my original number was 5, so I'm going to put in a divided by 5 on each of these. And so this time I see that 20 over 5 is just 4. So x minus 4, x plus 2/5. I'll go ahead and give the 5 all to the factor on the right. So I get x minus 4 and 5x plus 2. Fast AC method. Let's do a couple more. Let's do this for 2 more problems. So again, we multiply through by the 2, and we get x squared minus 11x minus 12. Alright, that's easy enough to factor. It's x minus 12 and x plus 1. So again, the original number was a 2, so I put a 2 in, divide by 2, divide by 2. I get 2 times x minus 6 times x plus 1/2. So with that said, I'll give the 2 over to the second factor, and I get x minus 6 times 2x plus 1. Fast. Next one, let's do 30 over here times negative 2. I get x squared plus 7x minus 60. Now, multiplies to negative 60 and adds to positive 7. How about x plus 12 and x minus 5? Alright, so do the same thing. The original number was 30, so we got a bit of work to do with this one. Alright, so we get 30 times, looks like this reduces to 2/5. Okay, so this is 2/5, divide everything by 6. And this one is 1/6, dividing everything by 5. Alright, so I'm going to multiply the first term by 5 and the second term by 6, and that makes up the 30. So I get 5x plus 2 times 6x minus 1. So the only thing I want to stress with this is that along the way I'm creating a new function. Now once I add in the 2 and the over 2's, or I add in the 30 and the over 30's, now it's equal to the original. But this middle step, when I write this function, this is not equal to what we had, but it is a step in the process of getting it. So feel free to practice some of these other problems, or pull up a worksheet of some factoring and see what you can do. This is a nice quick method and should speed you up a little bit when you're trying to do the AC method.